Yeah. Саламатсыздар ма? Bir секунд, қазір біз тағы да өзіміздің қонағымызды күтейік. Лейла, қалың қалай?
Жақсы, рахмет.
Ой, жақсы, рахмет деп қосылып отырсың ғой. Bir секунд. Қайда біздің кіремсің, достарымыз, қонақтарымыз. Bir секунд. Қонағымызды күтіп отырмыз. Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Yuko-chan. Yes, konnichiwa. Konbanwa. Yokoso. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm sorry, it's a bit laggy. I can't hear you.
Yes. Well, just let's wait a little bit for the connection to stabilize. Yeah, it'll take a couple of seconds. Okay. Hold on. She's left. Oh, Maqsat ағай, Лейла қараңыз. Maqsat ағай. Okay, good. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry, I think there was a lag there.
Yes, there was a lag in your connection. Let me first introduce everyone, okay, and then we'll just go on. Ал құрметті достар, қайырлы кеш. Қосылғандарыңыз үшін рахмет. Мінекей 84-85 аудиториямыз өсіп келе жатыр. Бүгін біздің қонағымыз Юко деген қыз, жапониялық, өзі және де менің қызым үлкен Лейла Нұрбек. Юко-сан қазіргі таңда толыққанды онлайн мектепте Crimson Global Academy деген атты онлайн мектепте оқып жүр. Онлайн мектеп, толыққанды онлайн мектепте оқу көп ата-аналарымыздың, достарымыздың қызығушылығын тудыруда, бірақ сонымен қатар көп проблемалар, көп сұрақтар тудыруда. Яғни онлайн оқу мектепте әлеуметтану жағынан баланың басқа балалармен байланыс құруда, жалғыз болуда проблема тудырмайды ма? Жалпыда онлайн мектептің аттестациялық жағынан, сертификат беру жағынан күші бар ма, жоқ па? Сондықтан біз қазіргі таңда осы Yuko деген досымызбен, yeah, she looks just like Kazakh, yes. Japanese very much, they look like Kazakhs. So қазақтарға қатты ұқсайды, өзіміздің мінекейіміз Лейла мен үшеуміз осындай бір сұхбат құрамыз. So I was just quickly introducing yourself, Yuko-chan. Yes. And thank you very much for joining our talk today. So I'll be jumping back and forth, Kazakh, Russian, English, Japanese, Nihongo a little bit. Let me quickly introduce my daughter, Layla. And she is with Crimson as well. And she's part of the Crimson Rise program. She's a bit younger than you. Also an aspiring karate athlete, an aspiring champion, and she's very fond of Japan because of her thoracic background. And I studied in Japan as well with JICA, Japanese International Cooperation Agency. Todai, Tokyo State University graduate, Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And so I'm very, very, very proud to be here today. And thank you for joining us. So let us quickly start. And I was introducing yourself as student of Crimson Global Academy. And I mentioned that a lot of our friends, they're having a lot of concerns and a lot of questions regarding how do you send a kid to fully online school? Don't they have problems, many problems with social life, with communications? What about the certification of the diploma? Would they graduate and be qualified enough to go and apply to universities and so on and so forth? There are many, many, many questions, a lot of questions. So let us quickly start. Leila, if you have any questions to go on with Yuko, you can go on.
Yeah.
And you have to leave, you two, you're fluent in English, obviously, but you'll have to leave me some room so I can quickly summarize and translate it for our audience. Жақсы, мен қазір Лейла мен Юко бастайды. Әңгімелерін мен қысқаша ғана қорытындылап, орысша, қазақша аударып отырамын. Мына негізгі сұрақтарды көп жинап алған, көкейдегі сұрақтар. Мінекей сіздер де белсенді қатысып, сұрақтарды сұрай беріңіздер. Вы тоже, я вот обращаюсь к аудитории, задавайте вопросы, мы будем быстро в таком рабочем формате с Юко сегодня работать. Какие есть особенности и специфика обучения полностью в онлайн-школе. Okay, Leila, floor is yours. Go ahead.
Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Leila. I am 12 years old. And as mentioned before, I'm here to ask some questions about joining CJ. I'm really interested in Crimson Global Academy and joining. If you have any questions, you can ask. Yeah.
Hello. Yeah, thank you for having me here today. I'm Yuko. I am 16 years old and I'm a Crimson Global Academy student and also the head of school. So, or the head student at the school. Yeah, I guess I started my journey at CGA when I was 15 years old, and a little bit over a year ago. When COVID really started hitting off, it became clear to me that going to a school that was meant to be online made the most sense. And since then, I've taken some IGCSEs and I'm currently doing my AS levels. Yeah, so please ask me any questions.
Great. Let me quickly translate that. Yuko, мына мектепке, онлайн мектепке былтыр, яғни 15 жасында, бір жыл бұрын бастапты. Толыққанды онлайн оқиды қазіргі таңда. Сосын Юконың қазіргі таңда IGSC деген халықаралық емтихандарды тапсыруда. Неге десеңіз A-level деген білесіздер, мына әсіресе британдық, американдық мектептерге түскенде, мына өздерінің тесттері бар, соған дайындалуда қазіргі таңда. Okay, go ahead, Leila.
One question I want to ask before we begin, how to pronounce your name? I don't really want to mispronounce it.
Yep, it is pronounced Yuko, just Y-U, so U and then a ko. I'm looking at some comments and it looks like there's some background noise. I'm going to try using headphones really quickly.
Oh.
I think the background noise comes from Leila, but let me just close my door.
Okay. Hello, is there background noise?
Yep, well,
I think it reduced.
Yeah,
it's better now.
Yeah. So, is there any question? Are there any questions I should answer?
No. So if you want, we can begin. Yeah.
Yep.
So our first question is, what do you like most about CGA? Crimson Global Academy?
What I like the most about CGA would have to be the amount of time I have been able to get from being in an online school. So I'm at school for an average of 2.5 hours, 3.5 hours per day. And so that has been, well, that has allowed me to have a lot more time to work on my extracurriculars. And yeah, that's probably my favorite part about CGA, and also the global community, which has allowed me to connect with people from all around the world. I have friends in Costa Rica, India, the UAE, and I've been able to make friends with people that I don't think I would have ever connected with otherwise. So those two things would have to be my favorite parts about CGA.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I always wanted a lot of online friends. Like it sounds like a nice experience. I don't know. So moving on to the next question, is the online training format convenient for you, or do you prefer offline schooling, education?
I prefer online school by quite a bit. I would have to say it's because I'm able to focus and divide like my study time along with my like social time, just half like, and really make that division clear. So when I was going to physical school, it would be difficult for me to, I guess, make time for me to not worry about school, and then make time for me to study hard and work on my academics. So being able to split both things in half and has been a really beneficial feature of online school, and it's allowed me to both thrive in a social environment and in academics. And I think this is reflective in a lot of my test scores that I've been able to get since I've joined CGA. So yeah, I got the top marks in IGCSE literature, economics, which were the two IGCSEs I took, and also with my mathematics A levels, which I scored 100% on. So yeah, I think CGA's online environment has been really helpful for my academics and for speaking with students my age.
Let me just quickly summarize. Это вот первый вопрос был, что больше всего Юко нравится в Crimson Global Academy. И ответ ее вкратце то, что сбалансировалось ее свободное время. То есть сейчас в среднем Юка в день тратит 2,5 часа где-то на непосредственно занятия, интеракцию там с преподавателями. При этом остается намного больше времени для самостоятельного изучения, для каких-то фокусированных ее там, предметов. И при этом очень сильно расширился ее нетворкинг. То есть у нее сейчас друзья появились там из Коста-Рики, из других стран. И качество общения на самом деле стало лучше даже. И улучшились коммуникационные даже навыки, о которых мы все время переживаем. Потому что очень с большим количеством сейчас студентов из разных стран мира приходится и взаимодействовать.
Thank you for the translation.
So our next question is, Yuko, why did you choose Crimson Global Academy?
I chose Crimson Global Academy because I trusted Crimson Education with my education already in terms of college applications. So I heard from Jamie, so he's the CEO and the founder of Crimson himself, about CGA, which pushed me to join the school. And it was perfect timing because it was right around when enrollment was about to close with CGA. That's when COVID started hitting Japan really hard. So I noticed my physical school was starting to become online, and I wanted to go to a school where I can really trust it to function well online. And because I was already a part of Crimson Education at that point, I knew that it was a company that I can trust, and I went through the courses, and they have the perfect curriculum, and now I've really grown fond to the A-level curriculum, so I think I made the right choice. But yeah, I think it would mainly go down to timing. It's I guess it's partnership with Crimson Education, which sort of allows me to connect, I guess, my college counseling part and my school together. And lastly, the curriculum that CGA offers.
Thank you for sharing. Also, one thing I might want to add is You can also answer the questions from the commenters on the live stream. It's
Okay.
just one thing I wanted to add. Sorry.
If there are any
Our
in
next,
non-English, please let me know and translate for me.
yeah. Well, so far, yeah, so far it's just people complaining about the background noise, but I think it's okay now. Mhm. Another question. How does CGA differ from other schools for you? Differ
CGA, I think the
other
biggest
online schools?
difference is so from other online schools. So I think the biggest thing
Uh-huh.
I've noticed so far is the difference in the curriculum. So I think a lot of online schools, they either offer APs because a lot of them are American based in the United States, or they don't offer any sort of international curriculum or internationally accepted curriculum. And so I think the fact that CGA offers the international A levels is like a huge differentiator because um, if you're like me and you know like what you want to study in college, for instance, the A levels are really going to allow you to focus on those subjects. So for me, that was a lot of like the social sciences and commerce. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest thing that differentiates CGA from other schools. Along with that, CGA is so global, and I think a lot of online schools are global, but not a lot of them are as globally things that differ CGA from other schools. And lastly, the fact that it's like connected to Crimson Education. So if you're already in Crimson Education for counseling, it's sort of perfect because, for instance, I've been able to say, hey, these are the clubs that are offered at CGA. What can I do with them to my college counselor? And because they're intertwined, I'm able to connect these things more.
Thank you. Yeah, I've heard that CGA is now it's mostly well known like as the best school at the moment. So that's why it's interesting to know more about it. Um, our next question is, what is your favorite subject, and is the what is the most difficult thing for you? Are you struggling in any subject? Yeah.
So my favorite subjects have to be I'm a little bit torn between economics and mathematics. So I'm like I think my love for economics sort of grew within the past year and a half or so. So I've really been enjoying economics, and it's something that I'm considering majoring in college for. And then with maths, I've always liked maths a lot. I actually went to a math-focused middle school, so in San Francisco, and so I've always done a lot of mathematics, and especially pure mathematics, I've enjoyed a lot. With subjects I've not suffered, I've struggled the most on. I think last year I was really worried about English literature because English is my second language, and I'm assuming that's the case for many people who are watching this today. But that was something that I struggled with for a little bit. But with right studies, I was able to score an A star, which is the highest grade. So I don't, with like CGA, A support, and also Crimson's tutoring support, I think it's possible to excel in any subject, even if it's one of your weaker subject areas.
Thanks for sharing. Also, as you mentioned before, I find I find knowing math really well, like or talent. I don't know because I've always wanted like to know math well, but I struggle at this subject math. Yeah, that's why. Mm, next question. What advice would you give to those who are going to enter CGA?
I would give the advice of um, reaching out and really taking the first initiatives. And what I mean by this is that in a physical school, you get so many opportunities to meet with people, socialize, make friends. You're walking from your classroom to the cafeteria, you bump into someone, and you can make a conversation out of it. So, like naturally speaking, you get more opportunities to socialize, and the same goes for like finding your passions. Sometimes schedule wise, you just end up in a club, or um, you're the person next to you starts talking about something and you naturally become interested. And those opportunities don't come to you as much in an online school. So you have to really make the first steps. So you have to be the one to say, hi, like, this is like my name, I'm interested in this. Is anyone else interested? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, you have to, my advice would be that, you know, online school is a really great environment, but you have to take you have to take initiative, and you have to, you can't really, you can make it a great environment, but you can't just really expect it to all come together and for you to be able to make friends naturally as much as you would be able to in a physical school.
Let me just, Layla, let me intervene a little bit. So we have questions piled up in the chat. Қазір сұрақтарыңызға жауап береміз. Чатта жиналып қалған ақырындап мен орталарында кіріп. So Yuko, the first question is, from what age, children get admitted into CGA in Crimson Global School, and what are the criteria for enrollment? That was the question, looking in chat.
So I've seen the students as young as like 10 or 11 be a part of CGA. So CGA offers a pretty wide course range. So we go from pre-IGCSE all the way to A2 levels. So that's basically all the way from middle to high school. However, depending on your, I guess, academic abilities, you can be like placed into a class that is above your grade level. So for instance, if you're 11 years old, but you're able to handle a middle school level mathematics, you might be placed into IGCSE mathematics. So there isn't really a strict age range. It's more about what you can, like which course you can excel at the most. And for requirements for enrollment, I'm not entirely sure about what every single requirement is. But for instance, I know like if you're like struggling a lot with like English, then you might be placed in like ESLL. So that's one of the courses that CGA offers that allows you to improve your English. So yeah, I think I recommend looking at the Crimson Global Academy's website for more information on enrollment.
So basically we're talking about secondary school, kind of end of primary school, beginning of secondary school, all the way up to high school, right? So it's not for primary school. It's okay. Яғни где-то 11-12 жастан, где-то с 11-12 лет, то есть это вот заканчивается primary school, начальная школа, вот начало там средней школы и до окончания, соответственно. Біздің жүйемізбен айтқанда 6-шы сыныптан бастап сол 12-ші 11-ші сыныпқа дейін мектепті бітіргенше дейін. Яғни бастауыш сыныптардан бастау емес. Қазақтың лицейлері, білім инновация лицейлері, Назарбаев зияткерлік мектептер, тәрізді сондай несі. Okay. Leila, you can go on. I will just intervene just when we have questions coming up.
We can maybe answer the questions at the end. They won't go anywhere, kind of. So I wanted to ask, how do lessons on chemistry lessons and physics lessons, how do they go in CGA, in online school? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Yep, sorry, I was muted. So like science subjects and laboratories?
Yes.
So I'm currently not doing physics or chemistry with my A-levels, but I did study them for IGCSEs. And so most of this coursework that's part of the international GCSE curriculum is you can do purely, or all of them, you can do purely online because you don't have any schoolwork that you have to submit in order to get the qualification. So we watched a lot of videos on experiments, and we did like some online simulations. The teachers made some videos for us, and that's sort of how we did a lot of the lab aspects of the physics and chemistry. However, I do know that recently they actually held like an experiment session in Auckland, New Zealand. So a lot of the students who lived in New Zealand, they were able to go to I think one of the Crimson offices, and they did some like physics and chemistry experiments that they missed out on because they were doing online school. I think actually there was recently an article that was posted on the CGA Press, which is Crimson Global Academy's official student newspaper page. I can send a link later in the comments, but yeah, on that page you can find an article about the recent event that took place, the event or like experiment session that took place for the science subjects.
Thank you for sharing. Our next question, before I say the next question, I just wanted to mention one important thing about this live stream. It's about most of these questions are about asking if like what would a student's like social life look like if everyone will stay online? Like maybe students will lose friends if they go to online school. So before I ask the seventh question, I just wanted to mention this. So is your life plagued by studying online?
Not at all. So like I briefly mentioned before, being at an online school has actually allowed me both to excel academically and socially. I think in a physical school, something that I tended to do a lot was I'm pretty talkative. So I would end up talking to the person next to me during class. And basically what that does is that I'm interrupting my learning by talking to the person next to me, but also the pressure of learning during that class time is interrupting my conversation with the person next to me. So I'm doing a 50% job at both talking and making friends and also learning. So in being online, I'm able to dedicate 100% of the hour that I have in class to just learning. And by doing so, I've been able, at online school, you're not in school for as long as you are at a physical school. I only have school for 2 hours today. It's a little bit longer on some days, but what that means is that I study with like all of my potential on those 2 hours, and I do some homework, and afterwards I'm able to spend it on socializing without worrying about my academics falling behind. So I think it hasn't plagued my social life at all. Though, like I mentioned in the past, you do have to make an effort if you want to make new friends, and you can't just expect it to happen. So yeah, if you make an effort to make friends and also to keep the friendships that you have like before you attend online school, you shouldn't have a problem with socializing.
But just let me clarify, Yuko, because there's so many questions about it. I mean, do you able to communicate with your current classmates? I mean, the students you're studying with now at the Crimson Global Academy.
Yes.
Do you have some sort of online interaction, or how it's organized? Because a lot of parents are really curious. Look, because our understanding and our experience, unfortunately, very negative with online education here in Kazakhstan was that the children are stuck in front of their computers and laptops, and they have to sit there for hours and then, listen. And they tend to do different things, go online gaming, watch their YouTube videos and stuff like that, cheating basically the system. And then, we tend to keep them inside. And then a lot of parents now have complaints that children get more reserved, they're closing in, some have some psychological issues. What's the case with the Crimson Global Academy?
So I think there's two aspects to answering this question. So the first would be that we are on Zoom. It's a lot of online schools, what they tend to do is they have like a set of coursework and you just submit assignments. So you don't have live sessions, but you watch pre-recorded lectures about the subject that you're studying. Whereas with CGA, we have live Zoom sessions. So every single day or every 2 days, depending on whether I'm studying a full-time or part-time subject, I am logging into a Zoom call for an entire hour, and I'm spending it just like I would in a physical classroom, where I'm able to interact with other students for a lot of teamwork assignments that we have. So that is one aspect. And the second, how we interact outside of the classroom, we have several platforms in doing this, but I think the main one would be through Slack. So Slack is this messaging platform that the entire school uses, and there we have various channels, such as we have like one on anime, we have one on like sharing a picture of the view from our windows, and really like
I guess, interesting channels like that where we're able to communicate about some of the passions that we have. And this is totally outside of the classroom. Furthermore, there are a lot of events that are held throughout the year, such as movie nights and game nights, where we're able to do something fun together. So like watch a movie by like sharing screens on like Netflix, for instance. So that's some of the fun ways that I've been able to socialize with my classmates at CGA. And another aspect has been there's a lot of clubs that you can join, and I've started several and I've joined several, and through these clubs you're able to find people who have like similar passions as you, and the common ground is the club. So for instance, I am the president of the student newspaper club at CGA, and there I'm able to like discuss like global issues with people who are passionate about writing like I am. So yeah, that's you're entirely able to like talk with your classmates outside of just the classroom. But again, you do have to make an effort to do so.
Thank you for sharing. That sounded really fun. I've also wanted to ask about extracurriculum activities. Do you have them in CGA?
Yes, we have a ton. I can actually pull some of them up on my computer right now so I don't forget too many. But there are so many extracurriculars. I have way more extracurricular opportunities at CJ than I had at my old school. So to list a few, I am part of the debate club and the CGA press, which is the newspaper club. And also the student board, which would also have to be a huge part of my extracurriculars, which it's like the equivalent of a student council or like student government. And I serve as the head student of Crimson Global Academy. And there we're sort of trying to bridge the gap between students and teachers / staff. And yeah, we're bringing some really cool events to life, such as the game nights and movie nights that we just mentioned. So yeah, there are a lot of extracurricular opportunities. Like there's a ton that I'm not a part of. So I know there's some on investing if you're interested in that, entrepreneurship. There's even one on like gaming, like esports or something. So yeah, there's a ton of cool clubs, whether they're more academic or more social or more just entirely fun. But yep, there's a ton of extracurriculars that you can join. So I would say that's probably the least of your that should be the least of your worries if you're considering joining CGA.
Thank you. One more question. Where would you like to attend? What university would you like to attend after CG?
I have a lot of universities that I'm interested in attending. I would say most of them are in the United States. I had to pick one, I'd probably go with Stanford University, but of course that's sort of far ahead and it's quite a bit of a reach. But yeah, at the moment I'm looking at mainly U.S. schools.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. I'm sorry if this question was kind of repeating, but for everyone to know, many people fear that children will not have friends and basically their social skills, their communication skills, they will lose them. So, what do you think about that? People saying that children will lose their communication skills because of online. What do you think about it?
I think I think that yes, I think online school, you could potentially lose your communication skills, but that's only in a scenario if you're not willing to maintain them. So, that's the case with physical school as well. I mean, in physical school, there's a higher chance of like bullying, for instance, and a lot of students end up not going to physical school and they just don't go to school in general. So I think that leads to like a loss in communication skills as well. So I think that there's, aside to both forms of both forms of schools. But generally speaking, I think if you make an effort to learn at online school, you can 100% maintain your communication skills. So, like I said before, you can either try to like make new friends at online school and excel, socially in that area. But you can also, you can always like maintain your relationships that you like have outside of like your new school. Like for instance, I still talk to a lot of my friends from past schools that I've attended or from like, in-person extracurriculars. So Yeah, I think it's important to remember, like, just because you're going to online school, that doesn't mean you get cut off from like everyone else in your life. You can always just, remain socializing, and also like, I think it's important to be like self-aware. Like, hey, I'm doing online school. I haven't gone outside in like a week. There's a really cool physical concert that's like happening this weekend, and obviously keep COVID restrictions in mind. And maybe that would be like a good place for me to communicate. So I think as long as you remain self-aware and you kind of reflect on how much you're socializing, you shouldn't have a problem with online school.
Mhm. So, actually, one thing I wanted to mention, it's off topic, but uh, it's kind of like I'm kind of jealous that you can actually like I didn't know you could really keep in touch with your classmates like that because to be honest, I don't really like text my classmates and outside from school, like we barely talk. And if we would talk outside of school, that would be nice,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think CGA, and I think this is thanks to really the amazing teachers and the other like faculty members who have really put in a lot of effort into creating a community, and that's something that like the student board and I know like many other like people involved are still working on. So we just try to guess maintain the community as much as possible. And I think through clubs, we've been able to find people who have similar passions. Yeah, this is
Hmm.
one thing is like, for instance, just like a quick example of this is I am like someone who's interested in like women's rights, and I've been interested since I was quite young. Since I spent 3 years in San Francisco, which is a pretty like politically, I guess, active city, and when I joined CGA, I was able to connect with young women from all around the world. All of them really amazing, and in doing so, that's allowed me to start like an organization where we discuss like feminism from the eyes of like women from a global perspective. So I think that is saying like, because we have like such like a diverse like group of students, we have so many students that you can easily communicate all at once through online communication platforms, saying, hey, these are my interests. You can do like bullet points, you can do like commas. You're bound to find someone who's also interested in those same passions. So yeah, I think people are always worried about socializing at an online school, but as long as you express what you're interested in and you also say, you find someone who says they're interested in something, you say, hey, I'm interested too, you should have no problem making friends.
Yeah, that's true. I believe. Um, one more question. Have you ever met your friends offline, your classmates from CJ?
I have not actually. So I know that I personally haven't met my classmates in person yet, but I know that a lot of the students in New Zealand have, because a lot of they held like an in-person meeting because there's like a good amount of CJ students are from New Zealand. So I'm currently in Kyoto, so it's not in Tokyo. So I'm sort of part of the not like I'm not in the capital city of Japan either. So just due to the sheer I guess, lack of students in my area, and also due to COVID, haven't been able to meet anyone yet. But I know a lot of the other students have, and we're trying to plan more student meetups in the future.
Um, Thank you for sharing. One more question. How many classmates? What's the number of classmates you have?
This depends a lot on the class. So for me, I have 2 classes where I'm the only student in the class. So it's literally like a private session, which has been really amazing for speeding up my learning. And then I also have other classes, and I think the largest class I'm in has a student. We have 7 students in the class, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think the general rule is that the maximum is 10, I believe, but my numbers might be wrong. But definitely, the classes are quite small.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Um, You can translate if you want. That's all.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let me jump in because we have a couple of, not several questions piling up. So my first question is from Aslan, and he asks, Yuko, how many years required to complete the School of Princeton? I mean, you were in your first year. I mean, if you would start from level 0 in Crimson, how many years in total to graduate from Crimson Global Academy?
I think it depends on like what you define level 0 as. So I guess to give like a brief like overview, we have pre-IGCSE, which is like a really quick course. It's not like I don't think it's like an official qualification, but it sort of helps young students I guess to learn all the information that they need so they can really excel in IGCSE. Sorry. And then we have IGCSE, which takes a year. It's typically 2 years at other schools, but it's only 1 year at Crimson Global Academy. So if you're quite young, you can sort of spread it out so that you take like half your subjects in 1 year and the second half in the next year. But yeah, that's totally up to you and I guess the age that you're at. And then we have 2 years of A levels. So yeah, it depends on when you join and what course you're placed into at first. Yeah, I would say that's generally the case.
So basically, if you join Crimson Global Academy at age, let's say 13, right? So you graduate at like 17, 16, 17, 17, 18.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that sounds about right.
That'll be easier to understand. Okay. There's another question. Does each student have their own individual curriculum in Crimson Global Academy?
I would say yes. So, I mean, obviously you might overlap in curriculum with some other people, but typically speaking, for A levels, you pick 4. So out of like a pretty wide range of subjects. The 4 is just average. I think it's typically like 3 to 5. So for me, for instance, I ended up choosing to do history, economics, business, maths, and further maths. So as you can see, I ended up doing a social science, 2 commerce subjects, and 2 mathematical subjects. And you know, there are some people who aren't taking any of the subjects I'm taking. I know people who are doing just physics, chemistry, and biology. So they're really focusing on sciences. So yeah, you're able to pick your courses from a huge variety of courses. So eventually it does end up being personalized, but obviously there might be people out there who have the exact same course selection as you.
Thank you. There's another one. Yuko, can you please tell me more about ECL, extracurricular activity in GCA, CGA? Don't you miss real social contacts that can be made enough offline school? I mean, you covered that a lot. But you see, the mentality in Kazakhstan is it's much like, but how can you be a friend with someone who you don't have physical contact with? I mean, like, it's like, how do you make a friend with a Costa Rican girl, which is like thousands of miles away, and you know you can see her on screen and online? I mean, isn't it a bit, psychologically hard? Yeah.
I think, obviously, I think this depends on the person. For me, I guess a simple way for me when I like looked at it when I was just joining CG, thought of like my interactions with my friends, I realized like they're not really based on they're not like the foundation of my friendship with the person is not based on being with them in person. So yeah, like I thought about what I do with them. I know I talk about, I think politics is something I'm interested in, so I talk a lot about politics with them, or I make like jokes with them. And so if I'm, when I look at those interactions, I realize that I can do the exact same thing online. And so I think that's like a really important part about, I think it's something important to keep in mind. And also I'm someone who I've moved quite a few times in my life. So I grew up in Tokyo, then I moved to Honolulu, and then I moved to San Francisco, and then I moved to Kyoto. So I think naturally speaking, I was fortunate enough to have experience in maintaining friendships with people that I'm quite far away from and that I'm in like a different city as. So I think that's been super, that's been like a good experience I've had. But I think any student who has experience like moving can say this, but you get used to it after a while, and I think you can maintain like friendships well online.
There were a lot of comments, but you look like Kazakh girl. I'd say you're a true nomad as well, right? So, and it comes from the same concerned parent, actually. How strong are the students studying with you in Crimson? I mean, like the online classmates you have, are they strong? Do they have strong skills? How do you rate them?
I think that most of my classmates are, extremely, what's the term? Determined, and they're, academically really strong, just as strong as I would say in a physical school. I think, with its connection to Crimson Education, obviously, it's going to be full of ambitious students who are already like reaching for like high goals in terms of like college applications already. So I think that's like one aspect to keep in mind about how academically strong CGA is. And also, like, the teachers really make sure to keep all students on like track with their education. So yeah, the classmates you shouldn't be concerned about the level of your classmates.
Leonard, you have something to ask. I don't want to dominate, the talk. But there's one very technical issue that a couple of parents are really concerned. Why did you choose A levels over AP classes?
Yes. So actually, I think to give a little bit more background about my education, I spent 8 years in the US. And so I was already pretty familiar with the APs before I joined CGA, and actually took one AP course. I took AP Calculus when I was in 8th grade, so I think I was 14. So I have experience with the AP curriculum, and actually ended up choosing to go with the A-level curriculum because I'm someone who I have like a good idea of what I like and what I don't like when it comes to subjects, and the APs don't give as much flexibility with that. So, when I look at my friends who are taking APs, for instance, they studied like 5 to like 8 APs in subjects in like a huge range of subjects. Whereas with the A levels, you study 3 to 5, but you study those subjects more deeply. And so I think that was an advantage of the A levels that I really, really enjoyed. But also, I'm a full-time student, so I'd rather take classes on the weekdays than the weekends.
Right. So Leila, if you haven't come up with any questions, I still have questions coming on. GCA is online. Yes, it is online. Have you finished the GCA now? When would you graduate, Yuko, by the way?
Will be graduating in January of 2023. So in a year and a half from now.
Yeah, a couple of years. So I was right. I said in a couple of years. Okay. Now there's a question. Yuko, how would you assess your current teachers in Crimson Global Academy? Are they great?
They're amazing. Yeah, they're as best as you can, wish for. They do such an amazing job at making an online classroom feel like a physical one. And, they, ask questions to like students, so we're engaged the whole time. They assign like perfect amount of like homework and like classwork. And yeah, I think that my test scores are my high test scores in my recent exam sessions is all like due to them and their support. So yeah, the teachers at CGA are truly amazing. And they've also been really supportive about, certain like amendments that have to be made for students, for instance. So like when I first joined CGA, I had like half of the A-level curriculum already done from my past schooling. So my math teacher, he did such a great job at making the curriculum so that I'm not like repeating anything. I'm still learning, and he was really able. And we have 3 students in the class, all at different like math levels, and he made it perfect for all 3 of us. So yeah, the teachers at CGA are really great.
Kelly, you have anything to add? I have a couple of more questions coming in, but you go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question before we continue with the chat comments. One question I wanted to ask, CJ is international school, so students from all out around the world are joining. How do you find the perfect time? Because everyone has different time zones. Like, how does
Yes,
that work?
this is a question that we get a lot. So we have teachers in the UK and teachers in New Zealand mainly, and we have teachers in like different places, but those are like the two main areas. And so that basically gives like a close to 24-hour coverage of like the entire school day when it comes to classes. And so, for instance, in Japan, we're sort of like right in the middle of like the UK time and the New Zealand time. So you're either taking classes like in the morning or taking classes at night. And so, yeah, you like make requests for like which classes you want to join, and then you're placed into like whether like a full-time version or part-time version. So there's, a lot of options usually. And so everyone is able to, or unless they have like another commitment that overlaps, they're able to find a time that works for you.
That reminds me of my American, my time in U.S. college when you have professors with different times within and days within the week, right? So you say Professor Colliers is giving lectures on Wednesday in the afternoon, and you're able to choose and you build your own perfect schedule. So I used to take a lot of courses, like 19 credits, Jesus. Anyway, so basically you pick up different classes with different time zones, and you were able to build up your personal schedule. Okay, interesting. Hey, good one, Leila. Good one. Well, I haven't thought of that. Well, there's another question. How much does Crimson Global Academy cost? Pricing.
That depends on like the number of courses you're taking. So I recommend looking at the website for further details about pricing. So like for instance, if you're taking like multiple courses, it's going to be like slightly cheaper per course. And also I believe A levels are slightly more expensive than IGCSEs, but yeah, I think that's I think the website will give you a clear look on pricing.
So it's the price line. It's on the website. You can go in, see the classes. It's basically going to a supermarket, right? Okay, I'm gonna need this. I'm gonna need this, and that's priced is. It depends on number of courses you take. Interesting. Okay. Leila.
Yes.
You have any Oh, here's the one I missed. Here's one I missed actually.
No, you can continue looking at the chat comments. I think that's what needs to
for the chat. So this very concerned parent is asking. So if you could sum up the absolute advantage of Crimson Global Academy over other online and offline schools, I mean, like name 3 top advantages you think the Crimson Global Academy it makes it like the best option for online schooling.
Yep. So number 1 would be it's because it's affiliated with Crimson Education, it's super the school, like CJ knows what it's doing when it comes to college applications. The second one, and we get like support from like Crimson counselors, et cetera, et cetera. The second one would have to be the global, like how global the student body is and how you're able to, learn from like students that from like countries that you've never been to or you never even thought of. So I think that would be the second one. And the third one is how flexible and how much time it adds to your day so that you're able to focus on your passions while still, excelling in your academics.
So basically, one of the key advantages, since it's linked to Crimson Global Education, I mean the Crimson Education, you increase your chances of applying to top university. So basically, you basically make a strategic move so that you can prepare better to your dream university. And Crimson Global Academy, do graduates of Crimson Global Academy have some sort of advantage or some sort of priority pass for Crimson education once they graduate and they apply?
I think the Crimson Global Academy students get direct support from like tutors at Crimson Education. Or not tutors, but like college, like we recently had like a college a counselor who, you know, normally works with Crimson Education come into Crimson Global Academy to support the students and also tailor the curriculum and help students decide like which courses are best to take when it comes from, you know, when you're looking at it purely from a college application you know, viewpoint. So I think that is a super helpful, like that is like the main way Crimson Global Academy students can, you know, take advantage of being, you know, at a school that is affiliated with Crimson Education.
Thanks. There's newcomers joining the chat and asking what's going on. Who's that girl? What's happening? Okay, great. There was a question about clubs. Can you elaborate more on clubs? Which clubs do you have in Crimson Global Academy? And you mentioned a few: the press club, the debate club, the debate society.
We have a huge, there's a question what grade I'm in. I'll just quickly answer that. I'm a rising junior, so I'm going into 11th grade. I'm 16. And so when it comes to clubs, we have like a huge range of clubs. So it's mainly split into teacher-led clubs and student-led clubs. So we have like clubs like investment or like I think entrepreneurship and, you know, several other clubs that are led by like CGA teachers, and it's almost similar to like an online course, and you're able to learn like we also have Model UN as a teacher-led club, so they're able to like enroll you in like competitions and, you know, all of that good stuff. And then we also have student-led clubs. So some examples are the student newspaper, which I founded and I'm the president of, and we also have you know, the student government, along with I know there's like an anime club and like an art club, and yeah, like there's such a huge range of clubs. Like I guarantee you'll be able to find a club on your passion, and if not, you might be able to start one if you know, have a schedule for it.
Mm-hmm. Before we go, before you continue with the questions, may I ask one question I'm interested in?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in sports, and BE has been physical education at school has been one of my favorite subjects for a while, and I wanted to ask, do you have physical education subject in CJ?
So we don't have any like mandatory physical education, like a lot of physical schools do. However, I think this is sort of where instead of looking at a class, you'll be looking at clubs. So like a lot of like, you know, students are, you know, there's like, I remember there was like a physical like wellness thing, and like students were like exercising together. So I thought that was really cool. And then there was also, there's like a lot of like really like strong athletes at the school. So because online education gives you a lot more time throughout the day, you know, you can like enroll in more competitions, you can travel for tournaments and things like that. So yeah, I think that there's less of like a mandatory physical education that everyone does, but it's that, you know, in return that allows you to sort of explore the specific sports that you're interested in.
Mm.
Layla, it was very inspired yesterday, because karate was officially introduced to Olympic Games in your home country. And a karate sport athlete from Kazakhstan, he got the bronze medal. It was the very first bronze Olympic medal in a very first Olympic tournament with karate. She was very inspired. She's a European champion in Kyokushin. And she, when was it, Leila, when did you visit Japan for the tournament?
It was 2019, yeah, it was 2019.
Before the pandemic. And she was about to participate in a world Kyokushin championship, but it was cancelled obviously because of the pandemic, and it all went. We're still waiting. So congratulations for the Olympic Games, and the Japanese national team is, I think, third strong. It's going strong at third in a medal table. Great.
Oh,
Great.
that's cool. Yeah, if you're interested in like a specific subject, like sport like karate in your case, you can do like for instance, I know like I know students who are like now able to like learn like their like sport like during the day instead of like just after school. So yeah, that's been really like cool to like see. I know, yeah, and they're able to like compete in tournaments without like missing school. Because I know a lot of tournaments like they can sort of overlap on weekdays, for instance.
Right. Well, we have 2 minutes to go before the 1 hour limit finishes with Instagram. And I have one question, one of the last question, I guess. Does the Crimson Academy evaluate students to improve their additional qualifications as joining some clubs? Well, so do you have some sorts of assessments that, kind of shows your areas of improvement so you can join some clubs or do some extracurricular activities to, yeah.
So, you can apply. I'm sorry, I think my headphones are sort of broken. But you can apply to.
Sorry, I think my phone had an error. Apply to like some of the clubs that you want to join, and that's gonna. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can apply to some clubs that you want to join, and you can of course like write them on your college profile, like which like clubs that you were a part of, and you can also gain like stronger relationships with like the teachers for the club, which will that can like help with the recommendation letter, for instance.
Okay. Well, we'll have to stop here, Yuko. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Real pleasure.
Yeah.
It was real pleasure knowing you. We're hoping to have some more questions. I mean, if a question will come along, we'll have just organize another session with you. Yeah, you have anything to add? I think we should thank Yuko. Yeah.
It was really nice to meet you. It was such a pleasure having you here. Thank you very much, and yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to Kazakhstan.
Yep, thank you so much for having me today. I had a really great time, and yeah, I hope if any more like questions come up, I'd love to answer them. Thank you everyone who joined.
Yes. いろいろありがとうございました。はじめまして. Thank you. Thank you. Good. Well, осымыз эфирimiz бітті. Бір толық ағылшын тілде өтіп кетті енді. Сұрақтар көп болды, бірақ ағылшын тілінде сөйлейтін адамдар қатысты. Сондықтан мен отырдым, аудармайын, бірақ уақыт үнемдеу үшін жалғастыра береміз. Сұрақтарыңыз осылай жинала берсе, біз ақырындап осындай эфирларды Лиламен бірге ұйымдастырамыз. Жазып тұрыңыздар, үлкен рахмет. Сау болыңыздар.
Goodbye. Thank you.